Hello children, this is Manish Yadav. Today we are going to explain from the next paragraph onwards the third label from the book of Vistas. This book is essential for all the students of class 12th. So here we go. I turned towards the ticket windows, knowing that here on the third table at Grand Central I could buy tickets that would take Louisa and me anywhere in the United States we wanted to go. Charlie turns towards the ticket windows, knowing that here at that ticket center he could collect tickets, okay, for both his wife as well as for him. Okay, what was the name of his wife? Louisa. And they could go anywhere in the United States, wherever they want to go. In the year 1894, and I wanted two tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. Okay, in the year 1894, Charlie wants to have tickets to wander in the year 1894, means 19th century, and he wanted two tickets, okay, one for him and second for his wife, to wander and to visit Galesburg, Illinois. It is a wandering, very famous place in the USA, in New York. He questions to all the readers, have you ever been there? Have you ever been there? That we readers have gone there or not. Okay, so we have never gone to USA. So what about this place, Galesburg? We are unknown. It's a wonderful town still. Charlie says that it's a wonderful town with big old frame houses, and all the houses are big frame. What is the type of a house which is called or known as old frame houses, which roof is made in A shape, okay, just like hut, and use lawns, and there would be use lawns in all the houses, and tremendous trees, and all the trees were very tremendous and charming, providing a cool shade whose branches meet overhead and roof the streets. And trees were there alongside the roads, and their branches were meeting overhead. All the branches of both sides making a shade, cool shade on the road, just like a roof on the street. And in 1894, summer evenings were twice as long, and the time of summer evening were twice as long, means it was lasting, it was durable, the time was hardly being passed. So, and the people sat on their lawns, and the people were sitting in their lawns, the man smoking cigars and talking quietly, and they were having talk quietly, whispering, they were whispering together. The women waving palm leaf fans, the women, all the women waving, shaking palm leaf fans. It is a kind of fan which is made of, palm leaf. In rural areas we could see these type of fans with the fireflies all around, and fireflies were flying all around the house and in the room everywhere, because electricity was not available in those days, so they were taking air with the help of palm leaf fans. In a peaceful world, and Charlie describes that it would be a peaceful world in those days. He describes about 19th century, 1894. The world was very peaceful, okay, because during 1894 there was no world war. World war took place in 1914, okay, first world war, and second in 1940. So it was a peaceful world, as Charlie says. Now to be back there with the first world war, still 20 years off, as the further lines tells about the war. First world war was in 1914, as I told you. still 20 years off, and there would be 20 years later. Okay, because Charlie wants to go in 1894. It was the time of 1894 when he wants, or where he wants to go. But war was taken place in 1914. So there would be a space of 20 years, so it would be peaceful to be back now. And world war second over 40 years, because world war was there, world war was there in 1940, so it would be 40 years later, uh, from 1894. So he wanted two tickets for that. Okay, Charlie tells us that he wants two tickets, one for his wife and second for him to go in 19th century. Then what happened next? The clerk figured the fare. Now Charlie describes about the gesture of a clerk who was sitting behind the ticket window. He glanced at my fancy headband. Clerk. He was paying attention. He was gazing at Charlie's fancy headband, but he figured the fare. Okay, but he was making odd and strange expression, looking at me, and I had enough for two coach tickets, and the money which I had at that time was enough. And I had enough two coach tickets on way, and the money which I had at time was sufficient to collect two tickets one way. But one way means by one side. Now, but when I counted out the money and looked up, the clerk was staring at me. But when I counted out my money, which I had at that moment in my pocket, and looked up at clerk, he was staring at me. He was gazing at me. It seems that something is going on very strange. He nodded at the bills. He indicated by shaking or nodding his head towards the bill. When I paid attention at bills, that are not money, mister. The clerk said to me, Mister, that are not money. He said, if you are trying to skin me, skin means loot, okay, loot na, cheat, you would not get very far. So you are not about to go very far from here, okay, because you don't know who I am. And he glanced at the cash drawer beside him, and he paid attention. He had a glance. He watched at the cash drawer beside him. Of course, the money was old style bills. When I paid attention there, the money was old style. Then I thought that I need to make sundry of my new currency into old currency to collect two tickets from the window. Half again as big as the money we use nowadays. Okay, half again, I mean the currency. Old currency was half again. Okay, as big as the money we use nowadays. I mean to say that जो करेंसी थी, it was half again, one and half. When we compare between both currencies, the old currency's size was one and half more rather than the currency which we use nowadays, and different looking. And it was different looking, and I turned away and got out fast, and just I ran away from there. They are just like bullet. There is nothing nice about jail, because I don't want to be shit into jail in those days. Even in 1894, there was no jail in 1894. 1894 में कोई जेल नहीं हुआ करती थी. And that was that. I left the same way, and I came back by the same way as I went there. I suppose next day during lunch hour I drew $300 out of the bank, and I suppose means confusingly he says that I came back from the same way as I went and entered in for the third level. Next day, what happened? I drew $300 out of my bank. There was $300 in my bank and my wife. So just I made a withdrawal of $300, and it was all that we had in our account, and bought old style currency. And I collected old style currency. That really worried my psychiatrist friends. And my friend Sam was worried about that because it was very strange for him that I was collecting old currency. So there would be a motto behind that, behind collecting old currency. So it's very common if a person is doing something strange and odd, okay, rather than all the people in the society, so we'd be worried about that. It seems that the person has gone to be crazy or mad. Now you can buy old money almost any coin dealers, but you have to pay a premium. Charlie says that you could collect any kind of currency by paying the old the present moment dollars, because you have to but you have to pay a premium. Okay, they would take something extra. Now what happened? How much did he get for $300? He got less than 200 in old style bills. Okay, it was not 200, less than 200 he got, but I did not care. Okay, but there is no problem because eggs were 13 cents a dozen in 1894, because he could buy a dozen of eggs for 13 cents. Okay, because it was the time of 1894 ancient time, so in those days everything would be cheap there. Now, but I have never again found that corridor that leads to the third level at Grand Central Station. But Charlie did not get that place again after roaming, searching it for many times frequently uh, at Grand Central Station. Although I have tried often enough, I tried frequently. I tried my best to get that place again, but I never went there again. Louisa was pretty worried about that. When I told her all this, Louisa, Charlie's wife, was worried about the experience or the thing what Charlie was sharing to her, because any wife would be worried about that, because her husband talks about strange, uh, odd things. So it would be a great strange experience. So she was worried about that. My husband has gone to be crazy, and I did not want to look for the third level anymore. Okay, and she wants me to be a sincere man. She wants me not to look after, not to search for the third level, what I discussed with her. And after a while, I stopped. Okay, and after some time, I stopped searching and roaming for that third level, for that place. I forgot all about that. Now, what happened? I went back to my stamps. Okay, I went back to my stamps. I began to look after or pay attention. I began to be busy with my stamps because I was having a shop of stamps. As I told you, that Charlie was possessing a shop of stamps. So he began to make him busy over there to divert his mind. But now we are both looking every weekend because now we have proof that the third level is still there. But what happened? So that Charlie and his wife believed that there is a third level at a Grand Central Station. What did they get to prove, or as an evidence that was proving that third level exists still at Grand Central? My friend Sam Weiner disappeared. Okay, now Charlie describes about very strange, okay, just like a miracle. The friend of his, Sam Weiner, was disappeared. He was not looking anywhere. Nobody knew where he has gone. But I sort of suspected. But there was a confusion. Doubtfully, Charlie says that Sham has gone to the third level because Sham was a city boy. Okay, Sham belongs to city, and I used to tell him about Galesburg. And Charlie has uh, discussed so many times about Galesburg. I went to school there, and he always said to like the sound of the place. And Sham adores lots of the place and its sound, and that's where he is. Okay, confusingly or doubtfully, Charlie says that Sham has gone on third level. Okay, because uh, he was a boy who was belonging to city, and most of the time I used to tell him about this place, Galesburg. So Galesburg was there where Charlie and his wife wants to go, you know, Illinois. It is a place there in USA. So Sam has gone there. Okay, right in 1894. Now what happened next? Okay, the length of video is over 15 minutes, so we would cover the next portion in next video. So keep practicing and learning till the next. Bye.